Hey everyone, it's John, the PPPD physio here. I'm excited for this next video, what not to do when it comes to PPPD recovery. Okay, so this is a follow-up from my previous video, the 15-minute comprehensive guide to recovering from PPPD. If you haven't watched that, go check it out. But this will focus on what not to do. And this is really important because if you really understand what PPPD is, a nervous system issue, a nervous system that is on overdrive, not a structural acute physiological condition that I always am emphasizing on from time to time. Again, it'll make sense why it's so important to avoid the pitfalls or the things that delay recovery. Because ultimately, I preach that chronic conditions like PPPD can resolve on its own with time, but there's a lot of things you can do to really slow down that recovery as well. Okay, so getting into it, okay? Because I don't want to harp on too much about the importance of understanding the nervous system, but it always starts there. But let me dive into it for now. Number one, having negative beliefs, believing something is wrong with me. Okay, remember how I said the importance of understanding there's a nervous system issue. If you think that it's a structural acute physiological condition, it's gonna really exacerbate that negative belief, something is wrong with me. And it makes it all the more worse when you're not getting answers from any doctors, specialists. You're going on that Indiana Jones mission to find Australia or America's best ENT specialist or doctor. But you're not satisfied because, they're not really giving you the answers. They might have just given you some medication. You sense some hesitation or uncertainty with how they're treating you. Okay, so that is what not to do, first of all. And so you want to understand what you have for what it is and just not be going on that Indiana Jones mission. Okay, so this goes into the second one, what not to do. Having fear and uncertainty around PPPD. And really, number one and number two go hand in hand, okay? They really do. But a lot of that fear and uncertainty around PPPD is not understanding that it's a nervous system issue. Just thinking there's something wrong with you, okay? When really, this is just the exhausted nervous system at the end of the day. I've taught on my Instagram channel some education around nervous system. You got your fight or flight and your rest and digest. When your fight or flight is it's an imbalance. When you got too much stress and hardship going on in your life or traumatic events, traumatic medical events, it tips you into overdrive, and then your nervous system's really good at remembering past initial symptoms that you may have had an initial bout of dizziness or chronic lower back or back pain, or some type of symptom, headache, but now it's developed chronically, right? You're having these symptoms for more than 3 months. It's becoming a nervous system issue here. So we don't want to have that fear and uncertainty. So when you have an exhausted nervous system, I talk about the volume dial, right? And I got taught this in uni. It's called hypervigilance. When you're scared, when you're like in that fight or flight, you can actually increase the intensity of your symptoms. It's a proven science, even though it's not quite getting there fully in the medical industry. But we know enough that with chronic issues, right, you can be turning up that volume dial. It actually increases the intensity of your symptoms. So those symptoms of dizziness that you're getting, you can really ramp it up to high levels with that fear and uncertainty. That's why it's so important to stay calm. I'm always referring you guys to the Steady Coach or some other resources, Megan or Emma, okay? Because these guys are great coaches at guiding you through the journey, okay? And just helping you settle that fear and uncertainty around PPPD. We don't have a lot of resources out there. We don't have a lot of doctors or specialists who understand PPPD, and you've experienced that. And so it's so important to not have that fear and uncertainty. Let me say one more thing, a very important point, right? I'm not just saying don't have fear and uncertainty just because it's a woozy sort of feel-good sort of advice here. when it comes to acute physiological conditions like vertigo or the flu or low iron, no amount of fear and uncertainty is going to make a difference, whether you have fear or uncertainty or not. In fact, having fear and uncertainty is a good thing because it drives you to go to the doctor, seek for answers. But in the case of an exhausted nervous system, your nervous system's already exhausted. You've gone through all this hardship, stress, maybe a medical event, an accumulation. The last thing you want to do is pouring oil onto the fire by inducing even more fear and uncertainty and, oh my God, what's going on? Those type of emotions that, some of you guys are harboring this for months, weeks, months, years, while you're wondering, where's my support? No doctors understand me. I'm fucked. None of my friends know what my symptoms are. But that fear and uncertainty is really just intensifying those symptoms and turning that volume dial up. Okay, this is so important, guys. So please, that's why the education around triple PD, the education around it being a nervous system issue is so good. That's why, again, follow these guys on Instagram, okay? The Steady Coach, Megan, Emma. And also, I educate on my channel. I offer online consults as well. I'm a physiotherapist, licensed physiotherapist. You're more than welcome to reach out to me on my Instagram. My Instagram information is in the YouTube bio. Next, number 3, having fear around movement. Guys, this is such an important one. You do not want to have fear around movement, okay? This is so important. What you do with your body gives so much messages to your brain. And because this is a nervous system issue, the nervous system is the brain, basically. The brain is what controls everything, your homeostasis, your fight or flight, your rest and digest, okay? What you're feeding your brain has a huge impact on your symptoms, okay? You don't want to be raising those alarm bells with your symptoms. And when you guys are scared to move, that intensifies your symptoms. Do not be scared to move. Okay, I know what you guys are thinking. Oh no, John, but when I move, I'm getting dizzy. Certainly this is not good for me. Guys, this is so important. No, I have to be really blunt with you guys. No. That is wrong. Because what are you telling your brain when you're not moving? You're telling your body you're not safe and something is fucked with you. That's not what it is. Because it's an exhausted nervous system, you need to be telling your brain that you're not fucked like that. Okay, if that makes sense. Like, some of you, I've talked to some of you guys are staying in your home for months. I stayed in bed for 2 straight weeks because I was scared, right? It was only until because I was a physio, I sort of understood, the university drilled into me the importance of exercise. I decided to give it a shot because uni didn't really teach triple PD exactly. And they taught some basics around chronic conditions. But, I pieced together the puzzles. I experimented with exercise and I realized I felt great, and I started going out, started going back to work, and I realized, I was still dizzy, but I was actually able to carry on with life. There's something called graded exposure. Dr. Yo teaches that. So that's an important principle, slowly getting back into things. But don't let that fear around your dizziness when you have movement stop you. My recommendations in general are, you can push yourself to a 7 out of 10 dizziness. 10 out of 10 being, it's so bad that you can't even deal with it, okay? But up to a 7 out of 10, your body is more resilient than you think, okay? I would recommend pushing through up to a 7 out of 10 dizziness, because if you don't, like I said, you're giving yourself so much harmful belief systems to your mind. Okay, you want to be moving through and telling your body that you're normal and you're living a normal life. Now, here's the nuances, because I don't know you individually. Unless I consult with you. That's why I have my online consults. But look, for some of you, right, if you're in those initial stages and you're really struggling with this stuff, look, if you need to rest and reduce your movement, I do think that could be your body's way of telling you to slow down a bit, which I do think the symptoms are there to do when you have an exhausted nervous system. I think it makes sense that your body's trying to tell you something. Hey, I'm exhausted. And I do think a bit of reduced movement can be okay initially, but I kind of hesitate to give you guys that advice because a lot of you take it to the extreme where you don't even get out of your house, and that's super harmful. So in general, that's why I'm saying don't have fear around movement. But if you are in that position when you're just so overwhelmed, okay, if you're going to reduce your movement, if you're going to be staying in your home for a period, I want you to treat that time as like a rest period or like a holiday. Like, there's a difference between the person that's like not leaving their house and thinking, oh, I'm fucked and oh my gosh, like I'm worried, and the person who's like, this is an intentional break, an intentional holiday, or like a rest period. I'd rather you have that mindset like, okay, if I'm gonna be reducing my steps or if I'm gonna just be staying at home for a while, don't be so hard on yourself and your nervous system by beating yourself up. Treat it like for what it should be, a bit of a rest period, and you know in your mind that yes, eventually I'm going to go back into life. I'm going to go back to the shops. I'm going to go back into work and everything like that. Does that make sense? I hope that's making sense, okay? It's hard to convey all the nuances. I'm trying to keep this video short, not too long, because I know you guys didn't want to watch the 40-minute video. So, number 4. Not identifying and addressing excessive stress and hardship in life beating up on the nervous system. Guys, you have to understand what got you here in the first place. You may have had a medical event, a traumatic medical event. I had a hospitalization near-death event, but I also was going through I was going through the hardest period of my life. I won't go through in the details. I've got more of the details in my other videos, but when you have all these hardships and stresses with your relationships, with work, I was burnt out from physio at a point, you know, my relationships were in turmoil, everything like that. Guys, you need to identify it, okay, and make peace with it, address it and make peace with it. I'm going to be honest with you because you guys are so interested in what I did to recover. I recovered after 8 months. If I could point to one thing that contributed to my recovery the most, it's that, guys. Now, it's hard for me to preach this on my Instagram because it sounds so woozy. It sounds so mythical. And I understand because in the medical industry, the mind is the toughest thing to conclusively come to determine studies with. That's why doctors are hesitant to treat nervous system issues because like it's so hard to study the brain, whereas with acute physiological conditions, right, the body, structural issues, it's difficult, but the medical industry has gotten to a point, and like I always say, they're excellent at what they do, at diagnosing it and treating it. But with the brain, there's a lot to catch up on, guys, and it's tough to come conclusive with that. But I know correlation is not causation, but it's a heck of a correlation, and I've seen it work for people and it's worked for me. And if you really understand the nervous system, like I would say I have a pretty good understanding being a physio, it makes clinical reasoning sense. It makes sense from a clinical reasoning perspective, guys. So the mind has an influence on the body. So you guys, I would recommend identifying and addressing those things. Where do you start? I always say the free online course by Dr. Yo, the Steady Coach course. Now, I know some of you guys are like, where do I find it? Guys, please Google that, the Steady Coach on Google, free online course, Steady Coach, and you'll find it there. Please, guys, don't make my job any harder than what it is, okay? Don't make me have to send you that link when you message me on Instagram. So, the last one, not identifying and addressing unresolved traumas beating up on the nervous system. Guys, who wants to do that? I understand. Like, who wants to be thinking about and bearing up their past traumas? Okay, I've got a lot of feedback from people saying that this made their dizziness worse, and I understand that because it's uncomfortable and you don't want to do it. Guys, I talk to people who have had chronic conditions for years. Okay, in my physio career with chronic lower back pain. Okay, I believe chronic lower back pain, chronic dizziness, it's same thing, just a different presentation, but it's still chronic at the end of the day. It's still a nervous system issue. I've talked to people with dizziness for years. Guys, if that's the case, I would recommend you guys do this. Again, it's covered comprehensively in Dr. Yo's free online course, The Steady Coach, like in a very supportive way. I talk to many counselors on my journey. I believe that you need to find the right counselor for you. This is sensitive stuff. This often needs, if you're gonna have a counselor, I recommend a good counselor because that's a person-to-person interaction. But I do think Dr. Yo's free online course beautifully covers what you can do without you having to talk to anyone. You can go through those sort of things yourself, okay? Of course, Dr. Yo's got paid stuff, and Megan and Emma. In fact, Megan, from what I hear, she's able to help you recover from triple PD without having to go too much into that stuff. And I get that. And can you recover from triple PD without having to address your past traumas? Yes, I believe you can. But why did I put it in there? Because there are a lot of you who don't look into that. I would say give it some thought and give it a try. If it's not for you, fine, like leave it. Or maybe think about doing it later down the line. But for me, being able to address my past traumas, okay, that's including your medical trauma as well. You got to understand what your medical trauma did to you and did to your nervous system. Identifying is 80% of the battle. And then, like, it's amazing because you want to be rewiring your brain pathways. And when you can identify and make peace with that, with your mind, amazing things start to happen. Because remember, this is a brain game here. You want to be rewiring your brain signaling pathways. You're inducing this sense of safety when you tell your brain that's associated with these past traumas as terrible and beating up on your nervous system, but you're associating your brain that a sense of safety around it, if that makes sense. I don't know everything around it and the brain sciences, but I can tell you now there's something in this step, okay? So I put it as what not to do because I just want you guys to think about how important this is as a part of your journey of recovery. That's the main point I'm trying to say here, guys, if that makes sense. So I think I've covered that comprehensively enough now. So those are what not to do on your recovery journey. And I am telling you now, I have talked to plenty of you so far who are doing these things, doing the things what not to do, okay? I should have put another one down here, a bonus one. Not doing your stress management techniques. Guys, like, you want to change your nervous system, right? You like, if it's not resolving naturally, okay, you probably need to be doing something. And the stress management techniques are such a great way to rewire your brain signaling pathways. And if you're not feeling like you're getting anywhere with your nervous system recovery, guys, why are you leaving this on the table, okay? And I did these stress management techniques like 3 times a day for 10 minutes each, for example. Like, I did the grounded technique. I've got that on my Instagram. So that's another one that I'm finding. Guys, like, don't be leaving that on the table now, okay? Okay, so I'm just trying to help you guys at the end of the day, yeah? I'm trying to help you guys move that needle along with your recovery. So I hope this video has helped. I didn't want to keep it too long. It's coming to 20 minutes. I think 15-20 minutes may be the sweet spot with the videos here. Again, if you guys want an individualized, tailored consultation with me, one-on-one, reach out to my Instagram in my DMs and just inquire about pricing, things like that. But it's online 30 minutes. I just get to know you more so I can give you more individualized advice. I wish that I had a health professional that I could consult with at the end of the day, okay? Do you have to do the consults? No, there's plenty of free resources. Otherwise, you got all my videos. You've got Dr. Yo, you've got Megan, Emma, okay, who you should be giving a follow and getting their tailored advice for, okay? So I'll leave it here. Thanks, guys, and I'll see you guys in the next one.